Hi guys, this is my first ever sort of WoW guide video, so it's probably going to be a bit vague and sort of off topic, but I'll do my best. So yeah, I'm making this video for people that are new-ish to Unholy Death Knights or Frost Death Knights that want to give Unholy a go, because obviously it's a completely different style of play. So I'm just going to go through some of the basics. So I'm going to start with talents. So talent wise, it's very optional as to what you want to go for, but personally I go for Roiling Blood here, because in 2v2s, 3v3s, especially 5s as well, it's really good for just keeping your diseases spread, because so much of your damage as Unholy comes from your diseases, so it's a lot more utility than Unholy Blight, because yeah, it's fine to apply it all at the start, but Roiling Blood you can just keep them spread. Next talent point, a lot of people here go for Leash Spawn. I'm drawn between Leash Spawn and Anti-Magic Zone. I'm rolling with Anti-Magic Zone at the moment, just because if I've just got a mage hitting me really hard, the most I can do is just pop inside that, then drop my Anti-Magic Shell up as well as completely impervious basically, so it's good for surviving like a nuke, for example in a 2s game when they burst at the start. Next one, okay, this is definitely just up to personal preference, so I've gone for Death's Advance because you're passively faster anyway, which is really quite a nice thing for chasing down healers. But if you are CC'd and you're just trying to get off a kill, there's nothing better than just being able to break your slows and just zoom forward with Death's Advance, so that's why I went for that. Chillblains is another good one. It's very passive as well, so you've always got Frost Fever down if you're playing correctly. So it does keep them nice and slow, but I prefer keeping myself moving fast, to be honest. It's against a mage and stuff where they'll just blink off anyway. It makes no difference. So Death's Advance is a better gap closer. Asphyxiate as well, it's one of those ones sort of when you go into an arena at the start and you get a chance to change your talent point. I normally would go for Asphyxiate if, for example, it's a burst comp or someone that I don't need to, for example, chase down like a double DPS melee or something, where the only thing I'm trying to do is just hold them still so I can just burst everything out, or just to wreck their burst. So Asphyxiate's got some nice utility in that, but as I said, it just depends on the arena. Now, next talent point, it's almost without question here, it's got to be Conversion. It's by far the most effective of all of this. I mean, Death Pact was good, like 2 patches ago I think, but now you literally just won't beat Conversion, just because of the massive buff it got. So, what is it, 3% every 1 second, so what's that? Yeah, 13k a second, and that's without being in Blood Presence. So, I mean, I try and stay in Unholy Presence now, Blood Presence got that nerf. And it's good practice just to try and utilise Unholy Presence a lot more, just to keep your movement up, to keep your runes coming off quicker, so that's why I go for that. Next we go to Blood Tap. Now I think this is pretty much essential as well for playing Unholy, because you need to control when you've got death runes to keep your necrotic strikes up, and at some other point I'll make a video explaining how to actually put Blood Tap into your rotation, but to give you more control over when you're going to have death runes ready. Whereas Empowerment and Corruption, it's a bit of a different thing. They sort of come off and you've just got them there, so I like to have more control. And final points, this again is it's just sort of it's up to you. I mean, I've gone for Gorfian's Grasp here because I was playing this in an RBG and I've made a little macro for this. So basically it targets myself and it's like an AoE death grip, so I'll just grab everyone in towards me, spread all my diseases out, and then they're all going to just like walk off and they've just got full diseases ticking on them. And it's also good to mix up with, for example, a Moonkin's Solar Beam to silence them. Remorseless Winter's a nice one as well, especially against melee. It's tricky to keep them pinned down, so a little tip for that one I found is start Remorseless Winter ticking off, and when they're around you they'll notice it. Most warriors will try and leap out of the way, so at this point I've got my pet stun macroed over here, so my pet stun will lock them in and not let them get away, then Remorseless Winter will freeze them straight in. So that's a good way to use that. Desecrated Ground, it's basically just another trinket to be honest, but it doesn't work as well as a proper PvP trinket. I very rarely find that I'm sort of kept still long enough for that to affect me, so in general I'm going to go between Gorfian's Grasp and Remorseless Winter, but again it's up to personal preference. Okay, so next we'll have a look at Glyphs. Glyphs, this is, again, it's not sort of certains, like you don't have to use them, but these are the ones I've gone for. So Anti-Magic Shell here, this is really good. I've found against mages, like I mentioned earlier, mix it with the anti-magic zone, and you've got one hell of a lot of protection against magic damage, almost about 400k in total. And I'm going for Icy Touch, which is really handy, for example, if a Shaman puts Earth Shield on themselves. So all you have to do is just one tap of Icy Touch here, and it just instantly dispels the Earth Shield, and more than likely, or more often than not, they don't even realise that it's been dispelled, so that's really handy as well. Oh, someone's calling me. So next to that, we've got Death and Decay, which is really good for kiting people down. So I've got that just key binded, Shift 5. So if someone's just trying to get away, you can just keep dropping that, and it's just harder for them to get away from your nuke, as well as just keeping chains on them, because that can be obviously dispelled. Mine is obviously not really important at all. I mean, I've gone for Geist because I mean it just looks a bit cooler, to be honest, because the normal zombie looks a bit stupid. Death Embrace is actually quite useful. If someone's targeting your pet, you can basically just keep spamming death coils, and they're only costing you basically 12 runic power, because this refunds 20 each time you do it. So you can keep your pet up for basically no runic power. And finally, I've gone Resilient Grip, which is kind of handy. If someone gets CC'd and you try and, like for example, if you try and grip someone just as they get cycloned, then obviously it just resets because it didn't work. So it's a handy little glyph. Okay. Next we'll move on to gems and stats. Well, since 5.3 came in, I think Blizzard have made a huge mistake with this, to be honest, but the removing of resilience and just, well, not even so much the removing of it, but it's come off the gear basically. So it's not there by default because everyone's got a base of 65%, which I think is ridiculous because it means PvEers can just jump straight in with PvPers and not get squashed instantly, which it shouldn't really work like that, because PvPers have worked hard to get their gear, and now PvEers can just jump in. So anyway, I digress. So stats, obviously your most important is strength, as most melee plate classes anyway. So obviously hit an expertise cap first, so the 3% is the cap for both. Now I seem to have gone over them here because it's just a gear I've got, so even if I reforged everything from hit and expertise, as you can see, it's still not doing it. So hit and expertise at 3%, essential, otherwise you'll keep missing things. Then it's obviously strength as your primary stat, so you want to gem that as often as you can. And then haste or crit, it's sort of debatable which is better. I personally think haste has gone better, so I've tried to stack haste in my strength to get my socket bonuses. PvP power is still kind of useful, but in general the PvP gems, as you can see, they've become completely useless, so I've removed them. So yeah, that's the gems, and finally we'll go on to macros. I'll use a few useful macros. So pretty simple macros. We have got the Norglyph. Yeah, that's the Norglyph, I think. Which one have I got over here? That's the one I used. So basically this is just keybinding to my WoW mouse. So basically all I have to do is when I've got a target with my pet is I just one button on my WoW mouse, and I don't have to go down here and click Nor and like end up sliding it off. So I can just have an instant stun ready as fast as I need it. So that's really handy, I found. As I said, it ties in nicely with Remorseless Winter to get them frozen. What else do I use? I've got my Death Grip macro. So this is a really good one for keeping people still. So the second I cast a Death Grip, it will automatically drop a Chains of Ice down too. So it's when you pull someone in, it's good to keep them still. And a point as well with mages, a lot of good mages will be wise to it now. But once you've got the 4-set bonus from here, which is for 3 seconds after casting Death Grip, you may cast it again without a cooldown. This is really handy, so if you grip a mage in, they blink away, you can just grip them straight back, and they've got Chains of Ice on them too. So they're just completely stuck, and they've got no way of getting away, basically. The only thing they can do really is an ice block, but... Okay, as I was talking about earlier, this is my AoE Death Grip, so this is one that ties in nicely with things like Solar Beam, or to pull everyone in and spread diseases to everyone, which is very handy. Then final one I really use, I don't use a lot of macros to be honest, it's just my Unholy Frenzy macro, which is basically I just spam 8 a couple of times, and it just gives me a nice amount of burst all in one without having to target things and all that sort of stuff. So that's every 3 minutes I get to use that, so obviously priority with that is to get your ghoul transformed as the highest priority, so 5 death coils, transform it, then blow this and start stacking necrotics, and there's very little healers that will survive it, to be honest. Unholy Death Knight's great for crushing them. So yeah, it's the basics covered. So it was only meant to be a basic video for people that are new to Unholy Death Knight. So if you got any questions, then drop a comment, and I'll probably be making a few videos later of maybe 2's technique, some RPG technique, or just drop a comment if you, as I said, if you guys got any questions. I'll see if I can help you out. Okay, cheers, bye.